you here all morning, or?
Welcome back to the Eye, live on the Potato Expo show floor here in Austin, Texas. Steve, I'm going to put that down for you. Don't touch the microphone. Don't touch the microphone. So with me is a good buddy going back. We probably know each other like 20 years.
At least.
Steve started out really doing a lot of the culinary for Whole Foods, expanded that, now doing culinary for everybody. And I want you to talk a bit about, how culinary in food service and potatoes all blend, whether it's restaurants, whether it's colleges and universities. I know you do a lot with them, and that's probably more challenging than when you and I went to college and it was just...
When potatoes were stuffed or mashed, right?
I only had mashed. That was it. And they were powdered mashed. Right. Not to say anything bad about powdered potatoes, but...
My mother, rest in peace.
Same kind of thing. So what's the state of potatoes in food service today?
It's kind of interesting, Phil, because the industry has changed so much in the last 20, 30 years, but the things that remain constant are the ingredients like potatoes, which offer everything from comfort foods to global flavors that you could never imagine are being incorporated into menus. And I would tell you that the one thing that potatoes really offer is a blank palette, if you will. Not only for global flavors from every country you can imagine, but also the profitability factor of potatoes is something that operators rely on more and more these days because it's harder to make money.
And they're under pressure not only with a lot of protein ingredients getting more expensive and labor costs going up. I mean, every day we're hearing how a lot more restaurants are upping it to $15 an hour versus $8 or $9. That's significant. So they've really got to look at their bottom line much more carefully.
Right, and potatoes help. And that's the whole thing. I would tell you that I work with a lot of large retail companies like Whole Foods, and now more and more universities and learning institutions. And potatoes are one of those common denominator ingredients that allows me to both lower the cost of my goods and also create exciting menus. I mean, I can tell you, for example, I do a lot of entrees from around the world with potatoes. Everything from regions of China and Japan to, Italian to Indonesian. It's just phenomenal.
So you say China and Japan. That's interesting to me because I don't think of China and Japan being big potato consumers, and they might be. I just don't know. I think in terms of rice. I mean, shame on me.
It's funny though, but so do I, and I'm obviously food obsessed, and I travel around the world. But I was really shocked to learn, even this week, I went to, I live in Florida, and a Chinese restaurant opened from a region I'd never heard before, Dongbei, D-O-N-G-B-E-I. And I go in there, and there's like 10 items on the menu with potatoes that I've never seen in my life that blew my mind. And so I'm constantly getting more inspiration from things I didn't even know were out there. In fact, this whole past couple of years, I've been working in Hawaii. And my culinary team there is from Korea, Japan, Philippines, global Asian. And they use a lot of potatoes in salads and entrees too that I just never knew before. So it's a much greater global impact with potatoes than you might imagine. And my travels kind of allow me to learn these things and then bring them back to American operators and make money with them.
So when we talk about this innovation, is it the preparation of potatoes or is it the potatoes themselves? I know there's over 4,000 varieties of potatoes. We here in the U.S. probably know 5.
Right.
So is it one or the other or a combination of both?
It's really a combination. I think potato is the perfect neutral ingredient that would absorb any flavor. And the thing is about potatoes, you can steam them, you can boil them, you can fry them. I mean, there's just a million different applications and flavors. So the flavor combinations are almost limitless depending on your imagination and how much culinary knowledge you've garnered from looking at where they are done authentically.
So, last question here. You mentioned universities. I would imagine that in the university environment, there's a different set of attributes because most of the people have to eat there every day. So it's not going out to a restaurant once a week or every other week that you can choose the restaurant. So it's got to be challenging both from a menu and recipe development standpoint, but also what about the health concerns? What are you hearing from the universities? Are we seeing more of these students gluten-free, keto, paleo. I mean, is that another thing
Yes,
you've got to deal with?
You see everything. However, in the case of potatoes, gluten completely appealing to gluten-free diets, and I think that as long as you make them with health in mind, for example, I'm not slathering potatoes with butter and sour cream. What I'm doing is I'm making Peruvian purple potato pancakes, or I'm making a potato pasta, or I'm doing things that are interesting and different and profitable, and the students love them because it's something new and different, and the operators love it because they're able to, as you said, make money because the proteins are so expensive. And that's the other thing that's helping us right now, is the fact that menus are turning plant forward.
Yes, absolutely.
And that doesn't mean vegetarian.
Right.
It just means, we're shrinking the protein and increasing the vegetables.
People are finally understanding, for themselves, balance is good and plants are great.
Correct.
And we're seeing so much innovation with plant-based protein. It's unbelievable.
It is, and it's funny because you and I have known each other a long time, and I just said to somebody, if you stick around long enough, what goes around comes around. And I remember, when potatoes were, baked potatoes, and now young chefs are experimenting with potatoes along with this plant forward movement. And I'm seeing things which blow my mind, and it's like 25, 30 years later, and it's a whole different ball game, but it's just so exciting. It's a great time to be in this industry, especially if your interest is plant forward and global cuisine. You can do so much with it.
Well, Stephen, as always, great seeing you.
Really nice
Thanks
seeing
so
you
much
too.
for adding your insights.
Thanks for keeping it up, really.
We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about potatoes. We'll be right back.